Hey guys, just wanted to take a minute to thank you, the listener, for listening and proving that you have a growth mindset. Our mission is to curate information from top influencers around the world. We provide you with real, actionable steps on how to improve in every and any area of your life, whether you own your own business, you're a C-suite executive, or just starting your journey of self-development. Professional development is all about growth. And you know that if you're not growing, you're dying. If you enjoy this content, please help us by helping others and liking, sharing, and subscribing. Thanks. Hey guys, welcome to the Brofessional Development Podcast. We have got a hell of a podcast today. So our main topic is going to be around goal setting. And then we have Bobby, who is coming in with the influencer blog or post of the week. And that's Case Kenny with Are You a People Pleaser? And then finally, we've got our news segment, Just the Tip of the Week, where Brad's going to give it to us long and hard. that being said, let's jump into the pod.
Thanks, Matt. So this week, the influencer topic of the week is a guy who has been around not for an incredibly long time. His name is Case Kenny. We talked about him actually very early on at the very beginning of the podcast. I think it was my first podcast I was ever on. And he he has a journal that he came out with called New Mindset Who Dis. He's become super popular just in the mindset community. Some interesting facts about him before I talk about this specific podcast that I listened to. He is the number 18 podcast in the United States. He does not have a single sponsor, and he runs it all out of his apartment in Chicago.
Talk about all the money he's losing.
He might be losing some money, but you know what? He's doing this for him, and he's just like this single dude who likes to lift and take a bunch of girls on first dates, and sometimes some second dates.
Is it Matt?
Yeah. He's literally Matt. So
are you a ghostwriter? Huh? You have a ghostwriter?
What's a ghostwriter?
You know, like
somebody who writes books and then you just put
like
your
Mark
name
Twain had a alternative name.
Like you write a rap and I rap it.
Oh, I didn't. Is there
That's a ghost,
a ghost rapper?
Yeah.
Well, you would like write it, or no? I guess a ghostwriter is somebody that writes it and then puts your name on it.
No.
I'm talking about what am I talking about? Where you write it, but then you don't put your real name behind it.
Oh, well, I could be playing it off right now.
I don't know what the difference is.
Yeah.
Matt Cresco is Case Kenny.
Have you seen a picture of him?
Yeah, I mean, you're better looking than him probably.
Nice.
But he's a good looking guy too. He wears a lot of ripped
He
jeans.
threw the probably in at the very end.
Probably.
So
Yeah.
I don't know if you have ripped jeans or not, but I know that he wears a lot of ripped jeans.
I got a couple
and takes
pair.
a lot of pictures of his feet.
No.
That's weird.
It's a little bit of advice, man.
It would
Is
make
this why you
sense
like
once
him,
you say
Bobby?
it. That's exactly it. Fetishes, baby.
So,
I'll get back on track.
Case Kenny.
So Case Kenny, this was his podcast number 249, and the title of it is Are You a People Pleaser? And he's got a lot of different podcasts. He speaks a lot to people that are in relationships, recently out of a relationship, in the dating world. And it's a lot of it that doesn't necessarily involve business, but however, in my mind, I think that you can apply what he said in this podcast to just about every area of your life, just like most things that we talk about. So what he talked about in this one is that there's a lot of people out there that tend to want to just do whatever makes people happy. I think a lot of us, probably just being compassionate, empathetic humans, we have this natural tendency to try and make people feel a little bit more comfortable, or we do things, say certain things so that they're not disappointed in us. So the whole podcast, it's a really short listen. It's 19 minutes long. And he's basically talks about, hey, if you're not disappointing someone at some point in your life, then you may not be living a life that is true to you. He says a lot of the same things over and over again, and it really just drives it home that, hey, like if you are not doing things to change yourself, a lot of times people say like, oh, you should never change. Like, don't ever change. You should be exactly who you are. If you're not changing, you are absolutely not growing. And I have one of the quotes that I have on here from this is that I loved is, our greatest strength is to be compassionately empathetic, soft, and vulnerable, but to also respect yourself, establish strong boundaries, and then be upfront and honest. So whenever you are making decisions to, whether I just relate it a lot to me with my sobriety journey is making a decision to go do that. I've definitely lost friends, or there's people that I do not spend as much time with. And I've even had a couple people reach out to me saying that they're like, hey, when are we going to golf? When are we going to do this? And I'm like, dude, I know when we go play golf, you're just ripping fireball shots. And there's nothing wrong with that. But it's like, that's not who I am anymore. So I'm not necessarily going to want to spend a lot of time with those people. So the whole point is you are allowed to let other people down. And if you do that, then you're proving to yourself that you're growing. It's a sign that you're growing. So this is my challenge to everyone. I mean, I'm going to keep my segment pretty short here. My challenge to everyone listening is that whether it's in your friendships, relationships, business, family even, etc., if you find yourself saying yes or doing certain things to make people in your life comfortable or not disappointed in you, then you are refusing to grow. And like we always mention in our intro here, if you're not growing, you're dying. So that's his the pot of the week here. Thought it was a good one.
So today is Wednesday, December 16th, and we're on episode number 18, and that's goal setting. The reason, I guess before we hop into everything we have, the reason we decided to do goal setting is because we all went on a retreat this past week. We went to Colorado, we did some hiking, we did some skiing, and then most importantly, we had some really strong breakout sessions where we did personal, professional, and Brofessional goal setting. So guys, what did you think about that?
I thought it was awesome. I enjoyed every bit of it. I mean, obviously being in the mountains was super cool, but the part I enjoyed the most was actually just getting around the table and, bullshitting and, knocking out a lot of big things. I thought I enjoyed that the most out of everything we did personally.
Same.
Yeah, for sure. Like, it was nice to disconnect from day to day, be in the same room with everybody that has the same goals or has a growth mindset, and just kind of how those conversations are so much different than all the other conversations you have on a day-to-day basis.
Definitely my favorite part. I'm laughing because my second favorite part is seeing you guys fucking higher than Bat's hits. So Brad has never done any form of marijuana in his life, and all of a sudden Colin, Dan, and Brad come out of the dispensary, and they've got drinks, they've got edibles,
smoke rolling behind us.
Colin's rolling a joint for them. They're like, if you're gonna fucking do it, you're doing it. And so I was, I was partaking in it, but I waited until after we got out of the grocery store.
After the fast-acting edibles?
Everybody else decided to go ahead and slam a drink, take an edible, a fast-acting one, and then smoke in the parking lot before we went grocery shopping.
It's legal, baby.
I'm honestly surprised we didn't spend more money there.
And Bobby and I were just fucking herding cats the entire time.
Oh my God. But I tell you what, I felt like I was stoned just watching these guys because they were, I've never heard Dan or Brad giggle.
I've never heard Brad cackle in my life.
That's what I told my wife. I was like, I just giggled so easy. I couldn't stop.
Oh, you were laughing from deep down.
And so the whole time it was like, Dan didn't know what the fuck was going on in the store. We couldn't find Colin. Brad we had with us, and Bobby and I were kind of telling him like what to grab through the aisles. And he just looked, he was convinced he wasn't high, but his eyes said he was working. His eyes said he was on fucking Jupiter.
And then he was furious that we had to pay 25 cents a bag at the Walmart.
Oh, yeah. So we ended up carrying half our groceries by hand because Brad didn't want to fucking pay for an extra bag.
Who's ever heard of that?
Yeah. Anyway, we'll get on to the main part, but I thought that was fucking hilarious. But the big thing why we wanted to bring it up is because one night, and I say we spent about 5 hours that night, was really centered around the structure and the future of this podcast. So I think that's what our big focus is going to be. We've got big things coming. We're going to be a lot more structured. We're going to have segments. We're going to be able to have a lot more content on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, any social platform that you can imagine. So we're hoping it's going to be a lot better for you. So again, if you guys like everything, feel free to like, subscribe, and share. From there, let's get into the topic of goal setting. Guys, what do you got on this?
So for goal setting, you asked us all to get a quote for the topic.
Yep.
So the topic, or the quote that I got is from Ted Turner, which was, you should set goals beyond your reach so you always have something to live for. And I kind of interpret that as, if you set your goals easy, you don't have to work for them. And the harder you have to work, the more your brain works. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And like somebody's always told me, like, if the day you quit living is the day you should go on the ground. And that's kind of how I interpreted that. Like, because if something's easy, it's not something you have to work to do. So that's how I interpret it from him. And I know I was going to use Colin's, but
use it, baby.
no, it's
we
all good.
use the same one.
Yeah.
Frequency.
So it's
We're on
good.
the same frequency. Mine was, if you want to be happy, set a goal that commands your thoughts, liberates your energy, and inspires your hopes. I really like this one. Same thought process as Brad. You know, like set goals that you really have to stretch for and shoot for. Because that way you grow out of it. You know what I mean? Like most years I set my goals so high that, you know, like I potentially could miss, you know, like, and then I really have to stretch and scrap for, you know, towards the end of the year to hit them. But that keeps me going, that keeps me alive, and that keeps the fire lit underneath me, seeing how close I get. Like I've had years where I've missed my goals. But you know, that keeps me coming back next year, you know, and then I know where I need to set my goals for next year. And it also helps me take a personal assessment of where I'm at and like why I missed those goals. So,
Yep.
So yeah.
Cool. So I'll hop into it. Mine's from Tony Robbins, and it's not directly about goals, but it essentially relates directly to it. So it's, if you really want to change your life, raise your standards. What changes people is when their shoulds become musts, right? And I think that's the biggest thing. Like people try to set these lofty goals, and we'll talk about wins and failures throughout this podcast, but you'll realize that the goals that you've hit in life is because it's not like, hey, I should do this or I want to do this. It becomes an absolute kind of must for you. So yeah, that's the goal that I have, and we'll talk more about that later.
Awesome. I'll jump in. So I also have a Tony Robbins quote. Luckily, we do not have the same one. But mine is, setting goals is the first step in turning the invisible into the visible. And this one really just resonated with me because I think I've done a lot of flying by the seat of my pants most of my life. And it wasn't until, and I know I talk about it a lot, but this is just where it's relevant for me, right? Like my lifestyle change, getting sober, getting healthier. I'd never thought I could do something like that. I'd tried multiple times where I'd go work out and then I'd never go back again. And instead making a plan for that and then actually taking action on that plan turned what I thought was never going to be feasible again into something that was possible. So I love that quote.
For sure. Dan?
Yeah. So I have one. I have a few. I have two though. Specifically.
Oh my God, Dan, you talk too much.
Well, Dan just Googled
I'm an
it.
overachiever compared to you guys. So fuck.
Or you just don't listen to instruction.
A goal without a timeline is just a dream. Robert Herjavec. So he's the guy that's on Shark Tank.
I love him.
Yeah. So I like that one. And then also kind of, and you guys are going to give me some shit, but Grant Cardone, set goals that match your potential, not your ability. And then finally, I believe it was Elon Musk. I couldn't find the actual quote where it was, try to achieve your 10-year goal in 6 months. And so all of those wrapped up, it's kind of like, hey, set a high goal and way above where you're currently at, a complete different version of yourself, right? And even if you miss that goal, you're still going to be a lot higher and a lot farther along and a lot more accelerated.
Are you saying if you shoot for the moon and miss, at least you'll land upon a star?
Is that your
Just pulled that one out too.
Dan's also
Dan,
3
you
weeks
co-
ahead by bringing 3 quotes today. He's trying to say ahead of the game.
What was Robert Herjavec's quote?
Goal without a timeline is just a dream. So, I mean, we can talk about it, but until you hold yourself accountable, until you put that timeline in place, I'm going to lose X amount of weight within 6 months, or I'm going to make X amount of dollars or close X amount of sales within 1 year or whatever it is. Like, you don't have anything to really hold yourself accountable. You're kind of like, well, I could still lose that weight because I don't have a timeline on it.
Right. Well, I think this is actually a good quote to end on, because our first question is, why are goals important?
Yeah, and for me, I have 3 things highlighted for why goals are important. I think it gives us focus, and without focus, you don't have a path. There's measurable progress with goals, and it gives you motivation. Because with goals, like what you guys are all saying, like timeline or whatever, if you set an easy one and you reach it, you're going to get lazy, as opposed to just stretching, like you're saying the whole entire time. You got to have that motivation to keep going all the way through. So that's what I thought. Those are my 3 key parts for why goals are important.
Yeah, I think you just kind of go through life aimlessly if you don't set specific goals. Like, things happen to you instead of you making things happen.
Yeah, for sure. So like to your point, specific goals, Matt. Like I think that's the most important thing. Something that's specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time bound.
Oh, smart goal.
Smart
That's
goal.
I didn't see if anybody picked that up.
We got it. Oh, we got it.
I loved what you said on the trip, Matt. What is it? Goals, purpose, action, GPA,
Yeah.
or
So
GAP, as Dan could say.
so yeah, GPA, goal, purpose, activity, or action.
Action. Yeah.
Either one
Yeah.
kind of go hand in hand. And whenever we had talked about that, obviously you set a goal, but to go a step further is the purpose, and you could call it your why, whatever it is. It's the motivation or it's the emotion that's like going to keep you moving throughout.
It's going to
that
remind
goal.
you
Like,
to keep
what
pushing.
inside of you is it building, whether it's personal, professional, otherwise, and then the activity, right? I think we all know by now that you can't just set a goal and then just look at it every day and it's going to happen. That's part of it, but you have to set in an actionable plan.
Yeah, the only thing I don't like about SMART goals is the attainable part. Like, I mean, anything is attainable, I guess, but you should shoot for the fucking stars,
You
right?
should just call it
So-
SMIRT.
Smart.
But what I really like about SMART goals are the measurable aspect. I think
I
that's
agree.
super important. Like, if you have a goal and you can't, like, let's say you missed your goal. Well, why the fuck did I miss the goal, right?
Yeah.
So you have to be able to break that down, analyze it, and figure out where you missed and where you hit, so you can just
100%.
get better and better.
It's important to take personal assessment, or like and that's what a goal that's what goals do for me is like towards the end of the year, towards the end of the quarter, or whatever. I can ask myself, like, did I really do enough, or where could I have spent more time? What could I have done better? And like that helps me look in the mirror and know that there's hope for tomorrow or the next year.
That's the craziest thing about goals is like, when you fucked up
Oh,
and
yeah.
why you didn't hit them. You
Oh,
know what I
yeah.
mean? You know the day you didn't fucking give it your all or didn't have the
Oh yeah.
fucking attention to get through the day or whatever it might be. And so when you look back on those days, those are those 1% or that 1% day that if you would have just done that, you would have been closer and closer to your goal, and those compiled, you would have fucking hit it. So
So yeah, going off that, Dan, I think you talk about this all the time, audit, right? Like,
Yeah.
and that's where I know I can improve on big time, right? Because I'm good at setting my goals. I'm good with like my vision board, looking at it, like taking the actions, but I'm not always good at being like, if I'm missing the mark, okay, going back and look at my daily activities and what's working and what's not working and trying to like power through that. But auditing your goals and your actions, I think is a big part of that. It's not just like, hey, 2021, setting the goal and then see where I am in December.
And then moving forward, I guess, what is your guys' process for setting goals? Do you guys have any certain process to that?
yeah, I mean, first I set the goal, however big it is. You guys know I think pretty big, but I set the goal and then I reverse engineer it. And I say, okay, and Matt and I actually did this morning where we said, okay, we want to make X amount of sales at, if you look up online with email marketing, what is your conversion rate on percentage? Okay, well, now that you know that percentage and you know how many sales you want to make, now you know how many emails you want to make, right?
Yeah.
And so how do you break that down break every single goal that I have down into a daily actionable item?
Yeah.
And then as long as I win the day and I do that daily action item towards that particular goal, that's that compound effect of 1% a day. And, if I actually fucking do it, then I hit the goal. So.
Yeah.
And my way is very similar. Probably the biggest difference is every Monday I have to sit down in my office by myself, alone, like turn the phone off.
You have to? Like somebody's
if-
telling you to?
Yeah, like if I don't do it, I feel like my week's completely
Yeah,
off
his
track.
boss is himself.
Yeah, and I
He's
feel like
making himself
I feel like
do
I
it.
can't ever. I guess you could say win the day or win the week. So every Monday morning, like especially this week after getting back from the trip, it was like I didn't think I had a lot of fires to put out, and then you realize like fuck, I missed work for 2 days.
2 days.
and
Yeah,
like
I have anxiety.
and I
I
was
was
like-
the same day. Yeah, I was the same way.
So Monday was a big day for me, and like I got out my notepad, I made all my notes, and I was like, how am I going to finish this? And it's like it looked like a bunch at the time, but then once I sat down there and just started clicking them off, I put circles next to what was important and what was gonna, I guess, what's important and what's needs to be done.
What's the priority today?
Yeah, what's the priority? And that's what I had on mine is like you have to have priorities in order to obtain the goals. So that's what I did on Monday, and that's if I don't do it, I feel off track the whole week.
Yeah,
That's a
I
very
think
good point.
I think everything that we went over this week is going to help us so much professionally, like the accountability aspect, like how often we're going to meet. Because usually everybody kind of does their own work on the side, and then we come in, we put together the podcast and go from there. And Brad handles a lot of the social media and posting and all that other stuff. But now we not only have like roles, like specific roles for the podcast, but we've got this accountability check-in where it's we're going to do weekly so that everybody's kind of completing their task and we're moving the podcast forward. But what we also decided is we're going to have quarterly check-ins because we all know each other's goals and what our biggest goals are to move the needle for us this year. So the quarterly check-in and going off that, like just the accountability aspect of like, get with somebody, get with a buddy, get with your spouse, your business partner, your peer, your manager, whoever it is, your mom, it doesn't matter, but get with somebody that will agree to meet with you maybe once a quarter to say, here are what my goals are, and just to kind of help check in on you and see how you're making headway.
Yeah, and I think I just want to dive in. So, and this has worked for me before, is post your shit. Like, if you have a fucking goal, just tell everybody you know about it, because then you know next time you see them or next time you're on fucking Instagram and you're not doing you're not doing that action towards your goals, everybody fucking knows it and you know it in the back of your mind. So you know that even though they're not really talking to you, you're fucking held accountable.
And you're getting judged.
If not for yourself, you're not going to let everybody else that you told about it
right.
down.
So if you're going to fucking do something and you're really going to fucking do it, tell people, in my opinion,
Put it
tell
out
people
there.
about it.
Yeah.
Because then when they see you, they're going to say, oh, how's that weight loss going? Or how's this going? Or how's that going? And if you're like, oh,
As you're pounding out a double cheeseburger.
then yeah, right. Well, that's why I don't talk about weight loss.
I think that's an awesome idea, Dan. I actually, it's funny you mentioned that. I did that a couple years back. I wanted to start doing some videos for my business. And I have, if you guys go on my Instagram and scroll, and I didn't post on Instagram for a couple years. I went MIA off of it, but I said, hey, I'm calling my shot here. I'm going to start putting out content every single day. I was following that Gary V crushing it type stuff where I was like, I want to put out content, put out hashtags for people to follow. And I probably did like 15 videos and I was consistently doing that. And I did it like every other day. And it was called 60 seconds or less. And it was like, hey, here's today's 60 seconds or less tip. And I did that for a really long time. Then something happened. It was probably me drinking. And then I just stopped doing it. But it helped me putting that out on social media saying that I was going to do that 100% helped me stick to it. And then also the fact that I've put out that I am going through sobriety. I got sober and I continue to post about it. It's my accountability because there's a lot of people out there that I know rely on maybe seeing those posts and it might make them feel better about it. So I think that's a really good idea to put something out there on social media, tell your friends about it, tell your family about it, and then make sure that they check in with you every so often. It might be a daily check-in at first. It could be weekly, it could be monthly, it could be quarterly, but you need to figure out what you need to be held accountable to, and then find those people that are going to be your accountability buddies.
Accountability buddies.
Accountability buddies.
So I got a quick question. It's a little off
Accountability.
topic. What if you are that accountability buddy and they show up and they didn't fucking do their shit? So how do you not be a dick and tell them oh, dude, you fucked
that's
up?
a good question, man.
That is a very good question.
But it's not I think for what we're talking about, it's not like an actual coach that you're paying or mentor, right? I think it's the idea of having to report to someone, right? Like having to tell somebody, man, I fucked up.
Yeah.
And honestly, if you're not, and if you don't give a fuck and you don't reach out to them or you just didn't do anything, then it goes off of one of those where it's go back to your purpose. Was your purpose big enough to achieve that goal? But speaking of which, do you guys have any goals that you've set for yourself that you haven't achieved? And we all have those, but any ones that stick out in particular or anything that you can talk about where you might have learned something after not hitting a specific goal?
So I have one that's actually personally related, which mine's usually all business stuff. But I told my wife this year I was going to dedicate more time to just me and her, take her out to dinner once a month or whatever it may be, where no kids, no other worries. And I probably started off okay with it. And then as work got busy and Corona happened, I got super slacky with it. And I talked to you guys on the retreat, that was one of my personal goals for moving forward because I completely missed it this year. And I know I missed it. She knows I missed it. So that's something I'm going to try and attack harder in a personal aspect in 2021.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can talk about, so I built this app called Gig Me, and it was, I wanted to blow this thing up and do all this cool shit with it. But the reason why I didn't achieve the goal, well, two reasons. One, I really just didn't fucking put the time in. I do really think I could have grown it a lot more. We had retention, we had all this stuff. But then once I got into it, my goals kind of changed because sometimes you set a goal, right? And as you start to go after that goal, you realize, well, I didn't think of this. And then it starts to not become a priority because things come up while you're trying to achieve that goal of I really don't want to deal with that now that I'm learning more and more about what this goal entails. Like, do I want to go down this path anymore? And so I don't know if that's necessarily giving up on a goal or it's learning and then realizing that it's not for you. You know what I mean? So that's, I guess, one for me.
Yeah, I think that's an awesome way to look at it, right? Because not all failed goals are like a waste of time.
Right.
You learned more.
yeah.
You learn more about what you want and the direction that you're going by failing there than you probably would have by hitting a goal.
Right. Yeah. That's
or by not even doing it
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, that's the thing. Like, once I said I was going to do it, I had to fucking do it because I told the family, I told friends, back to accountability, right? Like, I don't want to talk about it. I want to be about it. So, but as I was about it, I learned that, like, hey, I don't want to fucking stop what I'm doing and manage all these people who are fucking up other people's houses and like dealing with all these little micro problems on a day-to-day basis. And that kind of like made me put it on ice, I guess you could say.
Yep.
I think that's awesome, man. One for me, it's in Missouri here for Aflac. No one has ever opened up 100 new accounts in a year as a district sales coordinator, which is averaging almost 2 new accounts per week. And that was one that we've seen that people have wanted to break for a long time. It's been my goal the last 2 years, and I got about 60% of the way there last year, and with Corona, we're not even close to that. We're basically just managing our book. So with this next year, I know I talked to my boss, and I was like, that's still my goal, man. I still want to be the first district sales coordinator to hit 100 accounts here. So I failed on that over and over again. And going into this year, I feel like with a better mindset, being clear-minded, doing the retreat with you guys and talking a little bit more about what my goals are, having this accountability, knowing not only am I trying to reach this goal for myself to reach my financial goals, but also I want to do it so I can say that I'm the best at something like this. So I think advice for people out there, hey, if it's okay you should have big goals. And it's a goal that I haven't reached. I hit the production goal that I have, but not the new account goal. So there's always a way to get there. It's just a matter of looking at what you do every single day and auditing how intentional you are. And then if you're not doing that, then you need to look in the mirror and say, either is this for me or can I step the fuck up and make this happen?
Yep, absolutely. So I'll go on one, and actually we kind of talked about it I don't even know if we talked about it this year or over the trip, but one of my goals this year was to make $500,000. And before I said any false whatevers, like I didn't even really come close. I did not come close to it, like realistically, but the biggest thing that I learned from it was I just set an arbitrary number because I know I was going up in what I was making every year. And I was just like, fuck, $500,000. That sounds cool.
Sound crisp and clean.
Sounds dope. And so,
million sounds cooler.
Doesn't it? Yeah. But the biggest thing I learned from it was how arbitrary it was. And there was no why, there was no emotion behind it. And so, this year, I've got the exact same goal, but now I've got a little bit more emotion behind it in my goals for real estate, and my goal for long-term investment, and my goals for the fun that I want to have, and my goals for like how I want to help my family. And so that's where I'm thinking like the emotion should come in and push me forward, because last year, I made good money for especially what I consider good money, and I fucking had fun. And I just took the fucking pedal off work, which I don't regret anything I did. But now I realize like if I want to achieve goals like that, got to make sure I have the why, I have the emotion, I have whatever it is that I need to, so it's not just a flash in the pan and then I completely give up on it.
Agreed.
And I think we keep reiterating the same thing, the GPA. It's, goal, purpose, action. So,
Yep.
I mean, and from the trip, Matt clearly definitely has the best outline of how he's going to achieve his goal, I think.
Well, and that was my favorite. Like, so like I went first when we went and did our goals, and like I loved how you were pressuring me to give you my purpose, because so clearly like there wasn't anything concrete that I could, give to you. And it forced me to think about like, okay, really, what is it? And what is something that's going to push me to go after this goal with some kind of intent? And yeah.
And what was it? It ended up being your family?
My family, yeah.
And
those
freedom.
are awesome
Freedom.
things.
Yeah.
Those are awesome things to ask yourself. Like, I know we ask a lot of the time whenever we're doing some sort of a like coaching session with our people. It's a quality of leadership of what is this going to do for you? Why is this important to you? And or like, hey, I want to make this much money. Why do you want to make that much money? Dan asked me that same question. I heard Matt ask that question to you, Colin. He asked it to me too. So those are important things for our listeners right now to just think, all right, what's your goal? Why is that important to you? What's it going to do for you?
Yeah.
100%.
If you can answer those questions and and you feel like it's something that you can accomplish, then fucking go.
Yeah.
Yep.
Get after it.
Yeah. All right, guys. Now we have Brad, who's going to come in hot with our new segment, Just the Tip of the Week. Brad.
Thanks, Matt.
Give us a
So
tip.
for just the tip, have you ever had a thought or idea that gets lost in the stresses of life? Get yourself some small notebooks or journals, have one beside your bed, on your nightstand, and then put one in your backpack, put one in your back pocket. When you have an idea or thought bounce in your head, write it down so it doesn't get lost. It doesn't mean you have to take action on it right away, but it gives you time to dedicate to it later on. And the reason this is so important is there's just way too many thoughts that get lost in the stresses of life, and this is a way to keep them documented.
Absolutely.
Love it.
Boom. So, guys, big takeaway from today is obviously goals are important, but make sure you set measurable goals. Make sure you find some way to hold yourself accountable, whether it's a friend, a mentor, a coach, whether it's just social media and putting yourself on blast. Find a way to do that. Make sure you have an emotion behind your why and your purpose. And then audit things, right? If you don't hit the goal, make sure you're learning from it. That's all we have today. So we appreciate you guys listening. Again, if you like everything that we're putting out, make sure to like, subscribe, share, and hit us on social. We appreciate it, guys.
Yep.
Thanks, guys.